All right, so quick story. This watch was given to me by a guy that was my mentor that I've worked with for about 6 years as a watchmaker jeweler in town. And it was a really special watch. It's just been something that I've always looked at when I had bad days in the shop. And one day I said, hey, would you will this to me? And jokingly, and he gave it to me. And it's a really old pocket watch from the late 1800s, skeletonized, likely from a French watchmaker. And I really loved it, and it needed some things because it was actually dropped by another apprentice on accident. And so I ended up taking it apart and started by cleaning up everything and replating the dial with 24 karat gold. And there I made a blued titanium hand, which I thought was pretty cool. I ended up taking the blued titanium off and just bringing it to a silver because I liked it more. But there's the dial, sub-dial that I made out of copper. And then here, as I was putting it back together, I accidentally broke the balance staff. So I was so disappointed that I figured, well, I have to now be a watchmaker and make my own balance staff for this to actually work because I spent all this time on it. And so I went about spending the next 2 months figuring out how to make a balance staff. I cut it multiple times. It was too short. A couple times it was not the right size, and a couple times it broke. And finally, after a lot of trial and tribulations and tears and really crappy days, I finally got it going. And then it was just figuring out fine-tuning. In that whole process, though, a lot of things happened. I obviously had to figure out how to get it to be balanced and running more true. And then the hairspring broke off, so I had to laser the hairspring back on. And as I was putting the roller back on, I actually ended up breaking the roller table as well. So that ended up being a whole nother project. So after I finished the balance staff, I then had to start a completely different project, take it apart, and make a new balance roller. I put it back into the watch after I make it seated and give it a free spin, make sure that it's running true. And then as I was putting it back together, like I said, I accidentally broke the roller. So I ended up having to cut a new roller table on the lathe, and this took a few weeks because it was trial and error, figuring out down to the thousandth of a millimeter exactly where that jewel interacted perfectly with the pallet fork that you saw back there. So it's just a tremendous amount of work. I think that a lot of people don't realize how incredibly small these tolerances are, and I'm using micrometers and calipers, but a lot of this is just by eye and by finish, and you have to use micro needle files to get to the exact shape that you want, and then your ultimate final polish puts you at exactly the right tolerance for whatever the piece is that you're making. So overall, this balance took me about 2.5 months, which is a long time, but there were a lot of things that I had to modify and fix, like that pallet fork, the horn